Mid-October 2024 with the Lovelocks of Sunninghill, rough cut photo trails. And I'm going to go back into the introduction in a moment that was shot a week ago. So let's go straight to the robot boat, Snoopy's robot boat, and the photo trails in the middle will be the latest. There's a little aircraft. So this morning, it's Saturday, whatever date it is in the middle of October, I noticed that the test rig for testing a servo for to death, the servo was rotating continuously, and you'll find that subject comes up on the photo trails. We're still looking for a good solution for the problems related to that. The very latest information at the back end of the photo trail was to use this to charge up completely the duplicated solar power, and I don't think that's been done for months, if not longer. And so the boat is now on 24/7 static test, but having been fully charged. And theoretically, from years ago, we reckoned that even without any light on the solar panels, the batteries in the boat should be good for 6 days or more. And obviously with any light coming in onto the solar panels, it should be more, and we've not noticed that. Right, what I'm going to do now is to run into the introduction that was shot about a week ago on the probably early October photo trails. Oh, one thing I will mention, at the back end where it talks about the DVLA, the latest information I have, which is reflected diplomatically at the end of the photo trails, is that Julie Leonard, the Chief Executive Officer or whatever it is of the DVLA, is changing her job on the 25th of November to be whatever it is, Director General of the Crown Prosecution Service. So she might be quite relieved to be doing a different job. Anyhow, congratulations, Julie. So now into that introduction that was shot about a week ago. And as I always say, they will be rough cut. So this is where we live, 22 Armitage Court in Sunninghill. Warning signs about fierce guard cats. This place down here was known as Robin's Corner a few years ago, where GPS was tested from the late 1980s. This spot here, and yeah, that was the garden sculpture that June gave me for a birthday present a few years ago now. And here's the oak tree that sprung up for an acorn, with the accommodation for an owl that's never been taken up. Cats have checked it out, those guard cats, you'll see them in due course. Here's the robot boat. Now what I'm doing is shooting this clip on, if I get the date right, Thursday the 11th of October, and then using what clips I can to save repeating the work. So one of the most important topics for some people is Snoopy's robot boat to try and cross the Atlantic. That's Snoopy. And the recent photo trails, which are in the middle of this video, has some of the latest thing, which is this bright idea of, instead of just a couple of resistors, in order to limit power drain by the servo that drives the rudder, you'll see the rudder twitching every now and again. Anyhow, the nitty-gritty is in there, but basically when the power runs too low, typically overnight when there's no sun, because these are solar powered, then the servo, because of the design of the servo, tends to go hard over, and there are stops. Then it stalls against the stops and drains a lot more power, and that runs the batteries much lower than they would have done. Anyhow, there's me talking and talking, and often photos and other stuff is more important. So you'll see the latest on that, which is that I'm hoping for help on the bit of electronics that can be inserted just like this, but a little box of something there. Now what I'll do is I'll run into several other clips, shot some of them fairly recently, but one thing I will point out, because there is some more news in the photo trails, and in fact it's gone up on one of the pages already. It's on my website, gpss.co.uk. There was a charity, sorry, no, was a business, you see, business many years ago, as is quite clear if you look at it, but now it's just charitable causes and hobbies like the robot boat. And while we're on the subject, this is June's car, but as many people know, I'm not been able to drive due to the DVLA saying I mustn't drive, and there is an update on that. It's already gone up on 1 or 2 pages, but it's covered in the photo trail, so there's a bit of news there, but that won't be of any real interest to many people. Right, there's most of what follows is pretty much the same as other clips that I'll use, but what is relatively new is that we've been putting peanuts out for some time, and I thought, I found out recently from the closed circuit TV that the pigeons and other birds are gobbling away all the peanuts, and so other wildlife like foxes, squirrels, deer, badgers, they're all been seen to go for them. They gobbled them all up. So I thought, no, encourage the birds to go for stuff on the bird feeders like that one there, but not go down there, because well, they're also at risk to things like pussycats, and there's a record of them. So the reason I paused back here is I'm now going to see, and what I've got to do is change the recording that's on there, but anybody who comes to the door or goes down,
smile for the cameras. You could read the warning notices if you wish. Yes, bit of a joke, but maybe not.
yeah, much too long a message, also the wrong sort of thing. So what I've seen so far, and I haven't had a chance to check it, is, yeah, it keeps on going on. That could be a much shorter recording, like, or whatever, just enough to scare something like a bird, but most of the foxes, from the way I've seen, they've reacted to other things. It'll be a case of right, there's me talking. The only reason I did that clip here was to show you that, because it's a bit different. So what I'm going to try and do now is go back up to about roughly where I started a few days ago, and yeah, it's all a matter of minimising work, really, isn't it? So, oh, that's the QR code, by the way, to go to the Snoopy page. Right, now what I'll probably do here is cut into clips of video, that most of which were shot within the last few days, and so one of them shows you what's going on inside Snoopy's robot boat. Beware guard cat on patrol. Well, this one is Bentley. He's the senior guard cat, and he's been training, yes, that's right, Bentley. He's been training Toady since Toady was an infant. Yes, I may as well put these out as well. Armed mice. You'll see lots of things where I'm making jokes, but you can never be sure whether they're true or not. Right. Hello, Toady. Have you got any opinions? You may want to help testing of the boat. Now, just for this filming, I took the lid off, the electronics and other bits and pieces, and put on this text-to-speech unit, and this was just for shooting this clip, and hopefully we won't get any rain in the next few minutes. So what I'll do is I'll switch on this, and it'll go through a startup of waggling the rudder first of all, and then speaking through the text to speech.
Snoopy's Pickaxe 28X2 GPS only autopilot. Software version Romeo. Last update 6th of December 2017.
6th of December 2017.
45 seconds. Target Alpha. 11 kilometers. At 349 degrees. GPS course 147. Speed 0.0 knots. Left 158.
Yes. The software hasn't been changed all these years. The main thing I've been doing, and it's shown the nitty gritty in the photo trails, is trying to find out.
8 seconds. Target Alpha. 11
Yes, it's going on about interrupting, isn't it? Let me just switch it off for this, and I'll unplug the text to speech, which is only used for, and that's the text to speech cat. I'll switch it on now. Oh, there's a bit of wildlife there. Look, bee coming. Hello, Toadie. You want to help with this? You can't hold the camera for me, can you? What are you looking at now? Something or other. Yes. Yes, what I've been spending time on is these batteries here. If you do the simple arithmetic, they should be good without the solar panels working at all, in other words completely covered. Those should be capable of running the power, the total electronic system for probably 5 or 6 days at least. So it's not able to do that, and that's what I've been spending the time over the last few weeks. And of course in the process finding lots of silly mistakes, badly soldered joints or bad wiring, whatever. And of course the other important thing is occasionally it's the components that need fixing, and it's all done by measurement. Right, loads and loads of talking, so let's make sure that's in the dry. Right, that'll do. I'll come back and do that properly. I'll take that with me as well. Right, so yeah, I'll leave. Toadie, keep an eye on the boat, won't you? Yes, thought you would. Now here's another clip shot on the Friday and this is June's car, that's Samantha's car, and yes, promotion of a website that was a business many years ago, gpss.co.uk, and it's now hobbies like the robot boat and charitable causes. Now, I've not been able to drive for ages now because of the driver vehicle licensing agency, and as it happens today, a letter came in again. So that photo trail for earlier today, which is the last photo trail, has some of the detail about that. Anyhow, enough of that. Down here, by the way, the women will be going off to tennis for the second time today. Yeah, the catforts, Samantha's car, the camper, and before I go into the house I have to point out some warning signs. But first of all, the camper is what was used to take Snoopy's robot boat down to the coast for the last attempt on the Atlantic, and it's got battle damage which I would not want to be removed. Battle damage, June said Robin did it, Robin said the wall did it, but the wall is okay. Yes, other things here like the flatulent fairy that was yes, related to this, wasn't ready in time for Christmas to put up on one of the trees. Birds feed and stuff everywhere, including the bird feeder here, and I'll need to top that up soon. That's getting low. Yes, a lot of photographs, you see wildlife coming for that. And before I go into the house, I've got to point out some warning signs for health and safety reason. And what I have to add now, because people say, oh, you daren't say that, everything is, of course, just a joke, right? So, first of all, yes, signs like this, closed circuit TV, hidden cameras inside and outside this house, sound and video is monitored in local houses and everywhere. There's one camera there. No trespassing, violators will be shot, survivors will be shot again. And across here, that's my study in there, and it says, do not disturb, I'm disturbed enough already. In fact, there's another camera there. And this sign, one thing that I've been curious about is the automatic subtitles with translation, and the word NATO comes up differently for some reason. Don't know why that is, but doesn't matter. Perhaps this one will be different. Anyhow, there's this warning sign here. That is quite important because it's not just cameras. Home of mad ex-NATO scientist Robin Lovelock, beware of web cameras and water squirters loaded with water, paint, acid, DNA tracer or nerve agent. Robin would not be mad enough to test these, or would he? Just a joke, of course. Right, I think that's about it. That's the Ring camera, which is also picking up video and sound instead of it going up on the door. I think those are most of the toys. Yes, so now I think we're risk going in. And so coming in, there's one of the tennis things, and yeah, so just going into the kitchen now, and this is the immaculate kitchen with all the work I did with the temporary mirrors and things. And here's Samantha and June practically ready to go off to tennis.
Nick Cross has been forced to pull out strictly.
So they'll be off soon. And yeah, just a quick look. This is the games room, and it has got particularly untidy recently. I say recently, for ages, because of work on the robot boat. We get into the stage where the snooker table might have been cleared. But again, for those into property maintenance, the gardening work outside is easy. All this stuff has to be put in the right place and decide what stuff is going to be given away or thrown away. Yeah, peanuts. We get through a lot of those. And right, just going outside here now. As I say, I don't know, I might insert other clips in various places. Yes, there's the pond, drop down low. That's a job to be done, mostly for the winter months. That's the patio area and the barbecue there. You'll see all these things on the photo trails. So let's go into those long photo trails now. Friday the 11th of October 2024, starting with a summary of the photo shot. Yes, there's quite a lot of pictures of the pussycats, and first Bentley and then Toadie, keeping an eye on the robot boat for me. And yes, a bit of work on that. Yeah, checking voltages, making a note of the times that the boat stopped and started. And the closed circuit TV was very useful for that, showing exactly, of course those times are in GMT. Yes, there's Bentley, keeping an eye on visitors, and that was the man come to check the gas. That was lovely. We remembered each other from the last visit. And yes, there's Toadie, sat on one of the cars, and there he is relaxing with June. And at the back end of the day, I take a walk out down to the village and into the Comrades Club, where I enjoyed my time with the guys there. And I think a lot of those photos didn't come out, but anyhow, there was a complete mix up there. But the tracker worked, anybody could see, oh, there's Robin at the Comrades Club. And of course that came in, which was brilliant, that bit of advice on a LM317. And then I went off to bed, so that was well after midnight. Right, now the photos in the order shot. Yes, that's Toadie, and there's the boat, and there's Bentley, relaxing as he tends to. And yes, there's a few snaps here of the cats. Yes, hello Toady. And he sees Bentley across the road. I think that was part of it. I was checking voltages, left hand side, right hand side, and combined power. Very low voltage at that time. Of course the boat stopped by then. And yes, there's Toady prowling around looking at the boat, and here's Bentley decided to come over. Ah, now what are those pussycats going to do? A bit of play fighting? Don't know. So that's the thing, you never know what's going to happen next. Yeah, so that's why I was taking those pictures, thinking something might happen. Yes, Bentley. Perhaps Bentley's saying, no, it's time for me to come over for lunch. Yes, looks as though that's what he's doing. Yes. Anybody following me? Oh yes, that triggered him walking past. It played that sound saying something like, oh, look at the cameras. Oh, smile for the cameras. And yeah, I put a smaller time recording on that, so trying to scare the birds away, but not the other wildlife like foxes and deer and everything. Yeah, so Bentley's decided to come in. I did a bit of work there, processing of the video for the day before, putting a commentary on it, like I am for this one. And yes, listen to the Radio 4 news. Obviously these days it's serious stuff. Closed circuit TV on me. TV shows me when the boat's working and when it stops. So it stopped then at 17:01 GMT. So about 18. Make a note of that. So make a note of it, and of course these go into the photo trails like this one, so that I don't forget it. Right. Oh yes, and updated the blog 11 with the nitty gritty, and checked the visitors to that. So I knew then whether anybody had looked at it since I last updated it. And there's Bentley on guard duty, looking out the front window. And hello Bentley. And yes, he's decided to go back out and relax in the sunshine, and that gave Toady the idea to do the same. Yeah, so Toady's saying, oh, he seems to be enjoying the sun, perhaps I'll sit in the middle of the road and do that as well. And of course, I think at that time Samantha was out, and so when Samantha came back, there she is arriving. You can see her laughing, looking out. She should have run over him. And yeah, so the cats are still relaxing out there. And yeah, so looks like Samantha's come back with a little bit of shopping. I think she went to something she wanted to get, Longacres or something. In fact, I think it was a present for... Oh yeah, it's a squirrel on the closed circuit TV just out on the front porch, and there's a magpie, I think it is. And there's that happened a little bit earlier, and there's the visit from the guy checking the gas, and we, as I might have said before, we recognised each other, and it was great spending that minute chatting. And he said, but oh yes, that reminded me, I hadn't run my car, because you have to run it every few days, otherwise the batteries would go flat. And yes, it was flat, or at least I couldn't start it, so I thought, oh easy, just plug it in. It's a fairly standard routine thing, and just leave it so it charges up, and then I'll try it again if I can remember exactly how to do it, because it was a bit fiddly. And use the opportunity to take a few shots around that very untidy garage. Yes, lots of junk. Some can be thrown away, but one needs to know what to throw away, and of course a lot of the case it's stuff that you don't want to throw away, you want to give away. Yeah, what do you do? Yes, Toady. And of course June's watching some historical thing, I think, get an idea roughly when it was by the bobbies in it. Yeah, so that's the time now, 5:15, and in the afternoon BST, or evening I suppose. Yes. Looks like processing of another video. And what else? Closed circuit TV checks. And oh yes, yeah, June. If I've got this right, because I'm trying to remember, June needed to. That's my car. Trying to sort that out, and I couldn't start it. I don't know what it was. Gone through that process before, but yes, I think it was the previous day that June had problems with her car charging up. Right, that's looks like, oh, they're probably processing the early October video, I don't know. Anyhow, there's Michelle with Lady, and yeah, it's a bit blurred, the photos, but so what. And of course all these things happening in parallel. Yes, coming out of my untidy study, and yes, that's decided to make myself a snack, which I took into the naughty corner in the lounge. And yes, so that Ring camera, I think that needed charging up, so that I'll probably put that on charge for a little while, or redeployed it. Listen to the Radio 4 news again. Make sure I take my cue ball with me with a bit of lead in it, so I'm obviously getting prepared to take a walk out, so leave that process in, take my walk out past the robot boat and down into the village, and first of all to one stop to get a bit of cash, then back past the Sorrentina into the Comrades Club. Yes, check the yeah, my tracker worked well, and yeah, enjoyed the time there. And I thought I took several more photos, and they may appear, there was some mix up with my camera, and when I was unloading it, it was playing up. So right, that is, so that says it's time for bed, and that's the end of the photo trail, but now we have some more photos here. So yeah, there's something funny went wrong with my processing and handling, well, not the processing, but the unloading photos from the camera. Anyhow, there we go, probably similar photos. Check in my tracker, and yes, anybody could have seen that I spent time at the Comrades Club and then walked back home to 22 Armitage Court, just here. And oh yes, this was after midnight, and lovely bit of advice from Busby on the Pickaxe forum of a simple product with not much more than a resistor to do that process of limiting current. And right, that is time for bed, and that is the end of the photo trail. Saturday the 12th of October 2024, and a summary of the photos shot that day, and that was in fact a delayed birthday party for Saskia. And there's Toady relaxing in his cardboard box in the kitchen. He quite likes that. Yes, a little bit of work on the robot boat. And yeah, that's the trip to Yateley with Samantha driving. So yes, and a very enjoyable time there, and good food served up by Gary. And then we took a walk, and June was up for that, and we went round. Oh yes, a bit of demonstration of dancing by Saskia and Gary, and then we drove back, swung into Tesco to pick up some shopping, and then into the Bansalls to spend a bit of quality time with them. and their doggy Romeo. Hello, Romeo. Anyhow, I came back, left them there, and yeah, a little bit of work on the robot boat, yeah, measuring voltages and things. It's all in that blog 11. And then later in the evening, June watching tennis just for a change, and I think, yes, I'll take a walk down to the Comrades Club, just for the exercise, of course, as I always say. So, lovely clear weather it was. Into the Comrades Club, had my 0% Peroni, and of course the conversations with the guys there. And it was Skittles evening. I made my way home. It was pretty late then. Probably after midnight. Yeah, checking visits to that blog 11 page. Very helpful, that. Right, that's the end of the summary. Now, into the photos in the order that I shot. That blog 11 is a question of keeping it up to date, and that was the really good idea from Busby on the Pickaxe forum. And that's a trip which it was only sprung on me an hour or two before it was done. Which was over to Yateley and on the edge of Blackbush. Yes, I checked the closed circuit TV, saw when the boat started, yeah, 0931 GMT, make a note of that. Check some voltages, and so the boat is now running, so 4.94 overall, but 5.15, 5.19 left and right, and 4.90. It's obviously moving around a little bit at 12:20 British Standard Time. So I think I probably took a few snaps around the garden just to, oh yes, June's car's still there with the bonnet up, and yes, the everything's pretty well the same. Oh yes, Michelle's pointing out something there. I think it was where Toadie was hiding. Anyhow, I went out into the garden, took a few snaps so you can see that the pond was low, yes, and as I always say, job for the winter months. And yes, so there's Toadie hiding under that cover over the seats. And yeah, just several snaps around the garden. Yeah, there's the grass. No chance to get it cut. Nobody to help at the moment. And yeah, back up the garden. And of course, by now I knew that we were going to be taking a trip out. And yeah, just where things are pretty well the same for the last few days. No work done in the workshop area, moving things into the right places, but the space is there. Yeah, so make my way back out. Yes, all that overgrown wisteria and grapes and all the rest of it, yeah, work to be done by somebody sometime. And right, looks like we're going. So Samantha's driving. So, well, June's car's out of action at the moment. It's waiting for an MOT because she couldn't get it started for the last MOT. So we're on our way to Yateley through Camberley, and I expect we'll see the elephant soon. No, we're not through Camberley yet. We're just approaching the Jolly Farmer roundabout. Now we're coming through Camberley with Sandhurst Academy on the right. Yes, there's the elephant. And so we're now coming along the A30 past the Ely, and we're right near Blackbush now. So now we're going to Yateley and up Little Vigo. Absolutely lovely patch. Right, so park the car, and yeah, so there are, shows where we are. Anybody can see if they're interested. And yeah, so Gary is treating us to all sorts of things, but I take a few snaps. Yeah, I've seen them before. Lovely. So we're probably took those snaps where I got a chance to look at the garden and everything. yes, there's the birthday cards, or some of them, for Saskia. So this was a delayed birthday, or delayed birthday party, if you call that. And there's their pussycat, Sebi, I think that is. And all this lovely food being served up. Yeah, there's Sebi again. Yeah, lovely plate full of food. I must admit, at the end of that, we didn't need very much in the evening. Oh yes, video WhatsApp chat with sister and Becky and baby, and yes, her birthday cake came out. I was a bit late. That got me by surprise. So I was a bit late getting any snaps of that. Oh yeah, call from Paul, and I passed the phone across to Saskia, and Michelle spoke to him. And what else are we doing? Yes, yeah, pudding now by the look of it. Oh yes, June's taking some medication. Still haven't got her results, but hopefully they'll be good. And yes, so I looked on. Yes, and there's where we are, and right, we're just setting off for a walk because they've decided they're going to take a walk. Yeah, there's the berries coming out, and yeah, June was up for it, and we walked quite a long distance really. That's what they wanted her to do. Yeah, I love that patch. Very interesting history, and of course, yes, the concrete is the bit that's historical. Oh, a bit of dancing, yes. They were trying to get some music as background, but they were demonstrating various dances. And yeah, bump into other people there. Apples, yes, there's an apple tree. So I didn't eat any, but it was very tempting. Yeah, so along the runways, and what's interesting, you've still got the markings on them. So from the air or even Google mapping, you can see it as clearly as you like. And of course, if they needed to, something could land there. Yeah, all with the matter of regulations, of course. And people have to get out of the way. Yes, there's some various wild flowers. That was gorse a little while ago. There's some berries. I think that's probably wild roses. Yeah, there's the time, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, summertime, and making their way back. Oh, signs of old brickwork. Yeah, there's lots of stuff like that around, dating way back, including the last war and probably earlier than that. In fact, almost certainly earlier than that. Right, that's the walk we did on June's smartphone app. And here's Sebi relaxing. Now it looks as though we're getting ready to go now. And yeah, Samantha driving, of course. So making our way out. There's the Anchor Inn, not far away. And out on the A30, past the Ely. On that long stretch I remember as a lad. And into the Tesco One Stop to get some essentials. For me that's things like Red Bull, for them it's things like milk. And coming through Camberley now. Yeah, take a few snaps of places that have got some history. Sandhurst Military Academy, of course. And yes. Well, it amuses me, the barbed wire and old buildings. Lovely. Yeah, they're having a laugh at something they saw. Right, now coming into Bagshot, past that, and yes, that now past Longacres and the school, into Berkshire, past where they'd been filming at the school, and the Berestede. And what was decided is that Samantha would drop us off at the Bansals, And so, yeah, drops us off into the house. Yes, all a bit blurred. Enthusiastic Romeo wants to greet us. So, yes, I didn't stay that long with them, but just long enough to get a few snaps of Romeo. And yes, that's Romeo's paw prints on where they'd put grass seed down. That's coming up slowly. Hello, Romeo. Right, so that's it. That was the arrangement on the gate for the moment. That's the corner that had been knocked down by somebody. And so, had a glance in the door at Sorrentina, but looked fairly busy, so made my way home. And into this stretch of Armitage Court that's not on Street View, and I wonder why. That's something for somebody to check out. Yes, and yes, there's the robot boat. And yes, put the... Samantha's already done that because she didn't stay at the bandsaws, so she had unloaded the shopping. Coming up to 6 o'clock in the evening now. Yes, into the Radio 4 News, serious stuff. Check when the boat stopped and made a note of the times. Went out, checked voltages, yes, as you'd expect, very low, 2.37 left, 2.37 right, and 2.13 volts combined at 6:05, and not working. And yeah, put things back where they belong. And yes, that servo test rigs has stopped, so put the battery back on charge. And yes, put the commentary on for the day before, processing, and update the blog 11 that is, showing that right idea. And I'm probably thinking of what voltages, putting the commentary on the Friday the 11th video, photo trails. And there's Toady. Yeah, it looks as though I'm just put peanuts out. And there's Toady decided to sit in his cardboard box. I've asked several times, what's that cardboard box doing there? Oh, Toady likes to sit in it. So June's watching the tennis. Toady's sat in his cardboard box. I'm listening to the Radio 4 News again. And right, off down to the Comrades Club and taking a cue ball with me. And so I'm off out, as you would have known from the summary. So yeah, lovely clear night. And into the Comrades Club. There's my 0% Peroni. Yes, that corner is quite historic, isn't it? And yes, I actually bought some raffle tickets. I didn't go anything, but yes, of course it was the Skittles night. And of course we played pool as well. And that's it. So now walking back home. I think that was probably after midnight by the time I left. I can't remember now. Yeah, there's the robot boat. His solar lights on. He's not running, of course. And yes, check the tracker so I can see the trip we'd done. It all come out, including that walk around the runways. And of course anybody could have seen the live position. So anybody saying, oh, what are they up to? Now there's the trip to the Comrades Club and back home, just here. So blog 11. Yeah, I might have done an update to it, or I was just checking if anybody visited. And yes, that was the surprise. A couple of guys had visited. Well, I think it was Richard because it came up as Asset, but there was also a visit from Cambridge. So that's the end of the photo trail. Sunday the 13th of October 2024, starting with a summary of the photo shot. Yes, that's Toadie, of course, our cat. And yes, there's Michelle, Samantha, and June. Yes, and the boat, robot boat, and quite a lot is the nitty gritty of that LM317 solution, including the bits arriving. Anyhow, checking voltages and being ready for when it comes, and there it was. The guy delivered it. In fact, 2 packages as well as June's stuff. And I've very quickly, I think it was 20 minutes, had mocked up a solution and checked it, and it seemed to be working. Yes, back end of the day, eating in my naughty corner, decided to take a walk down to the Comrades Club and enjoy my time there. Yes, 0% Peroni and games of pool with friends. And yes, she insisted on taking that picture. Yeah, made my way back home. And yes, home at number 22 with the robot boat, sat outside. And coming up to 12 o'clock midnight. Yes, tracker showed where I've been, including getting back here. So that's the end of the summary. So now in the photos, the order shot. Yes, that junk, that's the servo test rig. Checking the actual current drawn, including when it spikes. Very difficult to catch on camera, but yes, it was a case of the documentation had said the details from years ago. Yes, processing of the video, including put commentary on for the day before. That was the Saturday. And yes, yeah, so the boat stopped working by then. Check voltages, yes, very low, nominally 5 volts, and you can see so left, right, and the combined voltages. And yeah, so I probably did, yes, looking at, yeah, just a hazy sun. But in fact, you wouldn't call it that, it was just cloudy all day, really. Occasionally it was brightish. Yeah, so there's the detailed circuit. So working out where things are, I think I was looking for the 10 ohm resistors. So while I was about it, I took some, looked around. I'd even included in the laboratory summer house. So I took the opportunity to take a few snaps. I still couldn't find them. There's a whole batch of 10 ohm resistors I bought fairly recently. I would have put it somewhere sensible, but anyhow, I used the opportunity to say, well, there's the snapshot of the workshop area, loads of space for putting things in the right place, just a case of getting round to doing it with the right help. And yes, though that arm had been shifted probably by foxes, so I put some peanuts out and a little bit of other bird feed. Yes, that's the charger, so charging up batteries. And yeah, so I was still looking for the resistor. It's the key thing. That's the only thing that is added to that module. Listening to the Radio 4 News, I expect, and looking at the website. Yes, there are reasons for. Yeah, I think it was Elon Musk, his space shot. Right, that's what I was looking for. And where could it be? And again, yeah, June's tracker shows where they were off to. Oh, there's Bentley sleeping in the, well, relaxing in the washing basket in the utility room. Yeah, so Samantha driving has taken June to do a bit of shopping between the two of them at Waitrose down at Bagshot. And then I found them. Yeah, of course, I'd put them in the right place, but they were tucked away behind something else. And and that's where it goes. And I thought I'd start with 10 ohms, is what I'd calculated might be the right value for it. So easy to change. And yeah, oh, it looks like the women who would be back soon went out to the boat. And yes, it stopped working then. So I thought, now's the time to bring the boat in. Yeah, switch it off. It wasn't running anyhow by then. And yeah, check voltages. And yeah, they say it wasn't that low. Oh, right, they get back with the shopping. and yes, put the left-hand side on charge at 3:15 in the afternoon. Yeah, they're putting stuff away and having coffee for themselves and all the rest of it. So, oh, there's a little robin come for peanuts, I expect. And yeah, the tracker will have shown them back here. And what else? Yeah, so right, made a case of making up that just for test. So I had all the bits, plenty of them as well, and yes, that shows where they'd been. And there's the tracker on June's key ring in a handbag normally. And yes, that's on charge. Called it to 4 or 3:45 British Summer Time. Yeah, looking at the closed circuit TV, checking things like, oh, there's a a little mouse, and the key thing is it was very quickly scared away by that little device. So that's on the ring camera, and that showed with the sound as well. Yes, as soon as the sound went off, and it was the original sound which said something like, oh, smile for the cameras, and even that was too much for the little mouse. So thought, right, quite easy, just a case of pressing the right buttons. I think you press the A button for a couple of seconds, the right comes on, do the recording, and press it again. So did that, and this time I just put a different sound. It was in fact no more than that. Yeah, there's a couple of foxes interacting, but they got on all right enough. So through till 06:14 GMT, when the camera switched to colour for the day, and now running back from midnight. Wasn't a lot really. Oh yes, me getting back from the Comrades Club and then going off to the Comrades Club and doing a bit of work putting peanuts out, and June and Michelle getting back 17:34, and yes, 4:15. Yes, stuff on charge. That's the left hand side. Here's Toadie thinking of coming in. Yes, to eat, I suppose. Yeah, checking voltages, and yeah, so a lot of boring stuff this, of course, but it's a very easy way of me of remembering things. It can be all sorts of things. A lot of people would say trivial, related to the robot boat, and fine, but anyhow, so that's all right. And then of course that was put in place in case of strong wind, coming up to 4:30, I think that was. Checking voltages. Yeah, so they're all quite respectable after. I only charged up one side, the left hand side, coming up to 4:30, 16:30 British Standard Time. And what else have we got here? Yes, that's shows you that what sun we had was very hazy, so it wasn't full sunlight that the solar panel was like. It was just bright, so there was probably a slight trickle, but anyhow, looking okay. So make sure things are documented on the blog 11, and of course you can very quickly see who's visited because there's so few visitors, and even if it doesn't say much more than the country, you can say, oh, that's probably so and so. And yes, so for example, Richard, I can see, yes, he looked as though he had visited once. That was an interesting situation, that visit that disappeared, the Ascot one. Probably a bug, or you never know, could be anything. Yes, so I decided that flatulent gnome was the right thing to put near that sound thing. And oh yes, there's the courier guy. We had a minute or two. And it turns out he brought 3 things. There was the 2 packages that I was after, those chips I'd ordered from 2 independent suppliers, and there's one of them, and in fact both, yes, so there we are, 2 independent packages arrived as they said on the next day. So that's, I just need to use one. Yeah, get the soldering iron out to sort of do a lash up good enough to check things. Yeah, make a note at the time, because that whole process wasn't much more than 20 minutes to begin with, And yeah, I decided after a check it needed probably 2 resistors when I checked it out on the test rig, and then it seemed to work. So it just needs to be tidied up, and that's a job for the next day, which is when I'm recording this. If there's time, lots of other things. Oh yes, looking at visits again, because of course I'm updating the blog, and yes, has been a visit. Yeah, they're watching Strictly Come Dancing. I think June's rustling up food. I think that was salmon, and I'm checking that out on the test rig, and yeah, that was looking good. So Michelle has joined as well. So there's Toadie. So they're all eating, including Toadie having something shared with a hedgehog. And I take my food through into the naughty corner in the lounge where I can sit and watch the closed circuit TV. Yes, and I also check the blog. They're watching a wildlife program now, and I think I'll take a walk down to the village. I'm with a lead weighted cue ball, and so to pass the robot boat down the road towards the village, into the village and into the Comrades Club, and enjoy my time there with the 0% Peroni. And also checked, yes, sure enough, my tracker that I wear shows me, and I got a call from Paul. Yeah, lovely that. And you never know. Right, check. I could also check the visits to the page, and that looked good. Yes, I decided to buy a raffle ticket, or raffle tickets. Yeah, there were darts on the telly, and of course had a few games of pool. She borrowed the camera off me and intended to take that selfie. Anyhow, didn't take that many photos. So back home, past the robot boat, and yeah, this little solar light comes on at night, at least for a few hours. So into the front door, and of course the time now is coming up to midnight. Yeah, the tracker shows where I'd been. Anybody interested say, oh yeah, that's where Robin's tracker has been. He's been spending time at the Comrades Club again. And yeah, blank screen, I'm not sure what that one was. Yes, okay, and then back here. And time for bed. So that's the end of the photo trail. Monday the 14th of October 2024. Starting with a summary of lots of photos shot on that day. Yes, that's Bentley relaxing, yes, on guard duty at the back door. And that's Toadie doing similar guard work around the back garden. And then Bentley comes out to join him. And that's Michelle's cat, Lady. And they went back that day. And yes, a few snaps around the garden, but most of the work was related to the robot boat. And yes, checking the voltages, after it'd gone flat overnight. But the most important thing was working on that current limiter for the servo. And so a lot of the nitty gritty is that process. And yes, I didn't get it working, so the boat was put outside on 24/7 test again. And yes, June left it a bit late to get the car working for a second MOT. I got the voltmeter out. No, good thing is she rang Gary, and he said, oh yeah, you can pop round. And so he'll be coming around to have a look at it. And Michelle went back. I didn't know until an hour or two before, but of course when we had discussed the details of that. And June and Samantha watching tennis. I rustled up. No, June had rustled up the food. I just simply took my plate through into the lounge. Yes, and then decide, armed with a cue ball, I take a little walk out. By the way, that was Toadie relaxing in his box. Down into the village and into the Comrades Club. Very quiet night. I didn't take many photos there, and there weren't many to take. There were a few people there. Anyhow, made my way back home. Yeah, lovely. evening it was, nice and dry. And yes, into the house. June watching something else on the TV. Yeah, check the tracker. Anybody could see where I was, including spending time at the Comrades Club and getting back home. And then we had this phone call from Gary, and that was good. Yes, so that's the end of the summary. So now into the photos in the order I shot. Started in my untidy study, processing video for the day before, and there's Bentley in the washing basket in the utility room, near the back door that is, of course. And closed circuit TV, yes, I could see the boat was working there at that time, but it stopped at that time, 04, just after midnight. GMT, that is about 1 o'clock in the morning. And yes, there's a black and white cat prowling around. Yeah, so take the meter out to check voltages. So that was 2.35 left, 2.38 right, and combined 2.13 volts. Not working, of course. So I made a note of that and decided, right, bring the boat in for several reasons. And one of them was it could be put on charge. Switched off first, of course. Use just an ordinary radio control charger. Yeah, that was fairly easy. Yes, note the time. Yes, 1:15, British Standard Time. And of course, everything is going on in parallel. We get interrupted by June's trying to get the car started, and because she had the MOT in not much more than an hour or two after. There's several days in between, and basically it wasn't working. So yes, there's Toadie in the games room now, and yeah, so a lot of these things is just knowing how to do things. And I must admit, how did you get to do stuff like that? But anyhow, ended up trying jump leads because the 3 starters hadn't charged up and weren't able to do it. And so a lot of fiddling about, working out how to do the jump leads and things. Yeah, still not working. Yeah, so there's a lot of nitty gritty there, but of course these photos are a useful reminder, to us at least, how to do something basic rather than just call out help. And of course the good thing is June got on the phone to Gary Carter, who's been working on their cars for goodness knows so many years. Good friend, of course, an expert on lots of other things. Now you can see a box there that's arrived. That's the peanuts, and we get through a lot of those. Yes, there's Toadie now sat in there, so use the right tool for the job. Yeah, Stanley knife to cut open the cardboard box, put the peanuts where we tend to put them for the moment. Yes, cardboard box has got to be cut up and put away in the blue dustbin in the right place. Yes, a lot of these videos are all about property maintenance, aren't they? Oh yes, looks like the dustman had knocked that over. That's the garden sculpture that June had got. Looks like Toadie's prowling off up the road. June's watching the tennis. Right, there's Gary Carter on his website. So he's going to be coming around. And yeah, so lots of nitty gritty here. Right, checking voltages. So that side had been charged up. Yes, green light means that's charged. You look at the voltage, nice and high, 5.62. And yes, then that's the time. And yes, tennis again on the television. Yes, processing of the video, putting a commentary on it like I'm doing now, but that was for the Sunday. Oh yes, decided to take some lunch, listen to the Radio 4 news, which of course is pretty serious these days. Had my banana. Noticed, yes, peanuts need topping up. And of course, where do we keep those? Currently we're keeping them in the games room. And yes, I'll probably put the plastic bags from the last lot there. Now, that's Toadie, of course. And there's the bird feed in the porch. Deterrent for little birdies going down to the bird feeder on the ground. That's topping up the feeder on the roof. And a quick glance around how overgrown and untidy it is. Yes, that's some easy property maintenance to do with the garden. Still nothing happened on that front. Yes, very untidy spare bedroom, if you call it that. Access to the roof. Yes, mostly clothes and things, I think. And looking down the stairs into the games room again. Yes. Right, time to... That arm looks as though... I didn't bother to check the closed circuit T, but that was almost certainly a fox that carried it down the end. So I put it back in the usual place. Joined by Bentley prowling around the back garden. Snaps to the pond, low. Job for the winter, as I always say. No time to do that now. It's very impractical when everything's growing like mad. Yes, all the long grass hasn't been cut there. That's an easy job. And that's the feeder over the second pond. So I put a few peanuts and feed in there. There's the gunnerer. Yeah, look down the end. Not much different there. There's the old boat seat. There's the other seat there. And there's the bog garden area. And a third pond, if you call it that. Reservoir. So one of the reasons I was prowling round into this area was I was looking for a bit of Vera board for putting together the thing. I was looking all over the place and I couldn't find it anywhere. All those boxes, there's all stuff that's got to be sorted and put in the right place, and yes, some of it will be given away or thrown away. So while I was down there I took a few snaps. It hasn't changed for days now, which is we've got the space to put things that relate to workshop activity. Yes. Right, coming back and multitasking, you see. I was combining looking for things and putting peanuts out. So back to the boat, and that's still charging there. And this is what I was working on, which is, yes, that's Lady, interruption. Got a chance to take a picture of her out the door, and then she came in. And so that's what I was looking for, a bit of Vera board. And I'd found that in the box of electronic bits, I think. Junk and yeah, we go. That's what I was looking for. So put it in the right place. But yes, and there was an old bag of Maplin bits and pieces. That's where it was. So put the bit I'm not going to use back in the same place. In slower time, those would get put in the right place. So I've got a little bit of variable, but it's bigger than it's needed. So yes, again, these things going on in parallel, charging batteries and things, and emails. Coming up to 5 to 5 British Standard Time. And yes, so use the Stanley knife to cut off a small bit of the Vera board, just big enough for what was needed, and got plenty of those leads. So split them up carefully, and yes, resorted to my teeth to bare the wires. And it's only in fact the red power wire that needs to go through that controller, if I'm following the circuit diagram correctly, and it seems to be working okay. So yes, looks good. That's on the test rig, which it turned out, the details are in that blog 11, but the test rig is an old autopilot which is a different processor in it, and it's just a possibility that problems, oh, he says, oh, don't tell June, but yes, she showed me. That's cling film, I think they call that, kitchen stuff. A very practical way of wrapping around the bits of electronics before it was then popped into the boat. And so that's the yes, make sure you use the right tools for the job and put them back in the right place. So that screwdriver is used to take the waterproof lid off, and yes, switch it on, and so that's working. But then you say, right, now connect in and that's stop. It's not then working properly, it's just sort of twitching. So you say, wonder why that is. And yeah, so coming up to 5:45 British Standard Time, yeah, put that back and basically check voltages. They're all nicely charged up now because I had actually charged the batteries left and right, and yeah, so the boat can go back outside, but without that current limiter, which would definitely improve it if it worked. But at the moment, we're just seeing how does it run with batteries properly charged up. And then of course it doesn't get a lot of light, and particularly with the weather, it's very cloudy at the moment. So that is still a job outstanding. And coming up to 6 o'clock, yes, turns out Michelle's going back to Coventry. Samantha gives her the lift to the station. I listen to the Radio 4 news. June watches the tennis. And yes, so Samantha, yeah, a few emails. Yes, you can read it if you like. And there's been other ones since then, really good. And yeah, so I use the microwave to heat up my food to take into the naughty corner, because I've been tied up doing other things. It's been getting cold. Yes. Check visitors to that blog 11, and good users. I saw that looks like Richard had made a visit. Of course it's been updated since then, but not to worry. Yes, right, thinking of taking a walk down to the Comrades Club. There's Toady in his favourite seat, the cardboard box in the kitchen. So past the robot boat on 24/7 static test, walk down to the village, into the Comrades Club, and yes, said my 0% Peroni. Yes, you can see where I was on the there. Anybody could see where I was. Very very quiet evening that, and there were a few people there, but I didn't include pictures of them. They weren't the friends that I was interacting with. Yeah, so made my way back out and back home, and there we go, number 22, past the robot boat, still working out there, into the house, June watching something on the telly, and I probably just checked that check my tracker was working, so anybody could have said, oh yeah, just go to the contact page, tap on that, and they would have seen that I was spending time at the Comrades Club. Just leave it on that page and you'd see it moving, not the history there, that's by logging in. Right, and back home at number 22, just here. Oh yes, that was a lovely call from Paul again, and yes, both June and I had a chat with him. Yeah, so time for bed, and that's the end of the photo trail. Tuesday the 15th of October 2024, starting with a summary of the photo shot that day. Yes, that's Bentley patrolling around, or Gary Carter was here working on the cars, and yes, there's work on the robot boat which seems to be running well overnight. after fully charging the batteries, but we'll keep an eye on it. And yes, June's watching tennis as usual. Oh, rustled me up some lunch, which I took into the naughty corner in the lounge, and I could see the closed circuit TV, including the wildlife. And yes, the blog 11 was maintained with stuff from the guys giving me advice, and it was interesting seeing their visits. And we had a political leaflet put through the door, very professionally done, looked like handwritten, but it wasn't, printed by somebody. Yes, so Gary changed the battery on June's car, and that was fine, and also showed me what I had to do on mine, and also showed you us, or me, the helicopter. Anyhow, and he told me the brilliant tips on the problems with digital technology. And yes, I took my leaded cue ball down for a walk past the robot boat outside, down into the village and into the Comrades Club. Yes, that was a bit of fun. And yes, quite a few games of pool or watching other people play and chatting, and then made my way home, and it was quite pleasant. And yes, past the robot boat with its navigation light on. Yes, and the tracker showed where I'd been. Anybody could see, oh, Robin's spending time at the Comrades Club, and now he's back home with Toadie playing around. So that's the end of the summary. So now into the photos in the order shot. Yes, listening to the Radio 4 news, serious stuff. Went out, checked the boat. Yes, that was still running. Been running for quite a few hours overnight. Checking voltages. Yes, they're still healthy. And this is despite the fact that it's been cloudy. So it's not just the darkness overnight. But the key to it was charging up the batteries fully. But it could still be better with that. Well, it's detailed as on blog 11. Yes, that's the device I've been working on. That's just recharging batteries for the test rig. June is probably watching tennis, but she managed to rustle me up some lunch. So I took that into the naughty corner, and so I could relax there, eat there. Yes, look at the wildlife. And yes, what's going on in the background are updates to the blog 11 with the details of work. And of course you've got this, yeah, that's an old photo of Dick. You can't miss him on the robot boat pages. It's one of the topics being discussed was radio control, servos and things like that, which some of us have been doing for many, many years. Yeah, that's checking the voltages again. See, they're pretty healthy. And the time. So some of that goes into the detailed blog. And yes, and that's been updated. Look at the visitors. And yes, the Ascot visit had disappeared. But yeah, it's not always obvious what's happening. Yeah, another check of the voltage. Yes, they've come down a bit, which is what you expect. There was hardly any sunlight, but still good enough. Yes, 25 past 4 then. And yeah, look at it. See, a hazy sun, not a lot of, but no strong sunlight hitting the boat, even for a little while. And we've got emails being exchanged. And yes, looks like a leaflet came through the door, and wouldn't be difficult to recognise who that guy is. My memory may be playing up, but I think it was the chap's dad, but I may be wrong. And very professionally printed letter, obviously different for each house, but of course all computer generated. Well, not the script, but not handwritten for each house. I don't think that would be very practical. Now the check later in the day. Yes, voltages are still sufficiently high, and that's 5 to 6 British Standard Time, of course. So the boat is still running. Yeah, June's ready for Gary and Samantha's just gone off, whatever that is, tennis or something I suppose, and Toadie waiting. And yes, I had problems with my car, but partly because June had borrowed the charger and I hadn't charged it up recently. And in fact, that's what Gary explained, when the voltage of the battery is below a certain level, those modern chargers, being digital, don't even start to charge. He said get an old one. But I found a workaround. Yeah, so there's Gary with all the right equipment, and he swapped the battery, and her car was then working. I think he might have still been working on it there. That's probably the new battery going in. Yes. Yeah, so June's car's running, so I can go off for an MOT, and then a service next week. Yeah, so June and Samantha watching, and yeah, I'm trying to get photographs of Bentley from opposite prowling around. You had to watch out, he might have nicked some of Gary's tools. Yes, there he is, look. And it's not easy to take pictures in this light. So, simple tip, Gary said, oh, make sure that you put your foot on the brake when you're starting it to turn the key. But the battery was still flat. Yeah, he showed me his helicopter. Essential equipment, that is, in the car for all the work he does on cars. And yeah, so that battery charger wasn't working. No, but now it was, and the solution was I used one of those little battery pack chargers, Halford's pack, because we had by then charged them up. So brought that back. Yes, updating the blog again with whatever was going on, and a lot of it was that was a mention of Gary, from the point of view that sometimes the wisdom on whatever the subject comes for the younger guys. It's not just being old that is a qualification. So putting things back more or less where they are, and yeah, so that car's in a state able to be driven, or at least ready for the major job on the gearbox. I think that's waiting on. Yeah, June had rustled up Pisa, which and I noticed a cobweb was over the camera, and that's the camera which is quite useful to keep an eye on the boat when it stops working, because you can see the rudder moving. Yes, and that's visit. I reckon that visit, which says Ascot, was Richard. And I find that very useful, those visits. They're not accurate. I come up as Red Hill, or at least I have done for quite a time. Yeah, Dick. You can see, I saw the visit from Reading. I thought, that's probably Dick. Then we had a phone chat, and he pointed out the email he just sent, which was a video of... there's me going on. Yeah, decided to put the peanuts out. Lots of slugs going around there. You had a look at the weather. Yes, looked as though there was some dampness coming in, but I'd probably be okay for a walk down to the village. So, and yes, it didn't rain at all when I was taking the walk down. So down into the village, into the Comrades Club. And yeah, I looked at my smartphone there, could see, yes, it showed where I was, so the tracker was working. Anybody could see Robin's down at the Comrades Club, because I've often mentioned to local guys, oh, why don't you pop in the Comrades Club? Oh yes, had a call from Paul. That was good. And yeah, and I must admit, I did get up for a bit of mischief with that. I won't spell it out here, but it does involve putting a lead-weighted ball on the table, and it doesn't go very straight unless you hit it hard, of course. And a lot of fun, but quite a lot of the games were played with the proper ball. And yes, obviously nice conversations with guys. Time to go back home. Getting quite late then. Yeah, not that long before midnight. Depends on what day that they kick out from the Comrades Club. So into the house, and yes, put the ball back where I can remember where it is, and check my tracker. Yes, there we go. Robin spent some time at the Comrades Club and then got back home. Yes, 22 Armitage Court, just here. And Toadie playing around. He in fact joined later. So, time for bed. That's the end of the photo trail. Wednesday the 16th of October 2024, starting with a summary of the photos shot that day, including at the back end down at the Comrades Club. Lovely time. And of course work on the robot boat, checking voltages and solar power and the times, all goes into the photo trail for detailed notes. And the most important thing was my letter to the DVLA, including Julie Leonard, who's in fact changing her job from being the top of the DVLA. That's another matter. Okay, down through the village to the post office, sent off the letters by, yes, and then coming back through the flower shop, and most important, the new cafe. And amazing coincidences on who ended up there. Into Tesco Express for a quick bit of shopping, back home, June watching the tennis, and yes, check the tracker. That was a bit strange. I didn't do that. I wonder what was affecting that. Anyhow, back home, and yes, the boat. Updated the public blog 11, the nitty gritty. June rustled up dinner. I took it into the naughty corner and updated the public page about the DVLA. And yeah, and then forced myself to take a little walk down into the village and into the Comrades Club. Yes, lovely time there. And these guys insisted on me taking the photos. And yes, those guys showed them the video of that were broadcast in 1995. Yeah, there's George, I think it was, looking out. Anyhow, that's on the As On TV page. So, walk back home and past the robot boat and time for bed. So that's the end of the summary. So now into the photos in the order they were shot. Yes, that looks like tennis from China. Yes, a few photos of the boat, checking the voltages. So 5.06 left, 5.08 right, and 4.83 volts combined, and the boat's running, and the time that the measurements were taken. So that's all information that can go into the blog, and anybody can see my mistakes. Right, and that's the servo test rig. You charge the batteries when they run flat. Yes, untidy games room. There's Toadie prowling around. Hello, Toadie. He moves too fast to get a picture of him sometimes. Yeah, pond's low. And yeah, just a few snaps what it was like on that day. And yes, jobs in the queue. Garden work, easy as I always say compared to all the other tidying. Yes, that's the three wise robins, there's the patio. Ah yes, that clock was the wrong time and had to change a battery. And of course, where do you find the batteries? Oh, well, there is an old box there amongst all that junk. Oh yes, I think I got a phone call. Yes, this guy, I believe it was. And yes, he's obviously checking that we're going to vote. And yeah, I try to stay up to date with the leaflets we've got. And in fact, as I'm recording this is the Thursday we're voting. Right, updated the COVID page with that graph of total deaths, which is useful beyond other things. Looking at visits to one of the sites. And yes, so that was probably visits to the COVID page. Yeah, so then got round to sorting that clock, listening to the Radio 4 news, which of course is serious these days. Yeah, but put the clock back in place, And yes, that looks like lunch to me. And oh yes, I'm looking at the letter that I typed up and printed out. So copies will be sent out to various people, and the most important is Tim Burton, head of that health section, which is difficult of course. And the question there was, what's the address of Julie Leonard, the chief executive of the or CEO of the DVLA for years, since 2018 I think. So I thought, well, since it isn't an address, there is a DVLA office in London, and that seems more likely that she'd be there. Oh, I had a nice call from Paul, and yes, routine jobs there. And yes, that's the walk I'm intending through the village to the post office. Yes, with a bag in case there's a shower of rain, so the envelopes don't get wet, but also I can bring a bit of shopping back. So nice little photo trailer going down into the village, past the Comrades Club, past places like the Flame Kebab and Tesco and Free Wine Barbers and Chapman's. Carry on down the Jade Fountain. I didn't realise how important that would be until later. Yes, a few events on. Got a note of that. There's the school, St Michael's School. There's the new place, and there's the theatre and the Cords Hall, and to the post office. So, yeah, did the business in the post office. I noticed that stuff on the post box. Interesting. Make my way back. Yeah, that's the time. 5 to 4 in the afternoon. Oh yes, met that guy that we chatted. That we're normally at the we meet at the Comrades Club. Then we did later. Yes, how about that? Clever, isn't it? That was in the flower shop. I went in there to chat about a bit of Sunninghill history. Yes, over the railway, and that's the new cafe. And that was fantastic. Going in there, meeting those guys for the first time, and then of course I rang up Belle thinking she'd be at work, and she was just walking past with family. Yeah, so got up my shopping from Tesco, and yes, that's been knocked down a few days ago. Back home and past the robot boat on 24/7 static test. Yes, the flatulent noise coming from near that gnome. Yeah, unloaded the shopping and checked my tracker so people would know, well, just so I know that what they saw. And that was good, interesting, because I saw that was a bit strange. I just went to the post office, I didn't walk round there. Any reasonable person would say, oh yes, he's walking round there. Now there are words for that process. It could have been a fluke, or it might have been spoofing, mightn't it? People who know about these things. Nah, no idea. Just a fluke, I suppose. And yes, I got back here okay, and people could see I did. Yeah, checking the voltages on the boat. There we go, left, right, and combined, 4.76 volts. 5:30 in the afternoon. BST, that is. British summertime. Yes. And yeah, updated the blog 11, which is the nitty gritty of what we're doing on the boat, and that were like visits to it. And yes, Toadie's decided to have something to eat. June's rustled up that food, which I take into the naughty corner in the lounge so I can look at this closed circuit TV. And then I updated the DVLA page with the details of my case for anybody who might be interested, including those within the DVLA, and probably check in the visits to it. Yes. So June's watching the tennis. I take a look at the rain radar. Yeah, looks, fingers crossed, it should be okay. There's some light rain coming through. Yes, Toadie keeping guard duty. And you might have seen I was armed with a leaded cue ball, but I didn't use it that night. And yes, down into the village, into the Comrades Club, And yes, these guys came in and insisted on me taking some photos, which of course I was very pleased to do. You have to be so careful. Yes, and that's Charlie, I think, had a good game with him. Had a call from Paul, that was good. And yes, that video, which was broadcast in 1995 with Nick Knowles and Carol Vorderman, where they basically did a bit of play acting with the local Thames Valley Police. It's been on the As on TV page, and that's, I think, George looking out. They used the Jade Fountain for the target, or the destination for Nick Knowles. Anyhow, excellent bit of work that was. Right, back home and past the robot boat, and looks like Toadie relaxing. And yes, check the tracker. Yes, it showed my visit to the Comrades Club, and then back home, just here. Oh yes, put the tracker back on charge, and time for bed. So that's the end of the photo trail. Thursday the 17th of October 2024, starting with a summary of the photo shot. Blend and Brew, yes, the new cafe in the village. I can see myself going there a few more times. Yes, work on the robot boat, and checking voltages left and right, and combined voltage. And of course, there was a bit of sun that day. Make sure it's documented up on the blog 11 page. And there was an election. The old boy was standing down for health reasons, who was conservative, and so you've got other guys. Lots of leaflets had come through the door, and of course what's interesting is the guys, and here's a chap campaigning for one of them. And yes, so as usual, invited in and showed him relevant stuff, including of course going away with my visiting card, and I made a note. So there's another guy there, and yeah, interesting. All these guys can be really interesting in slower time. And yes, my orders for I hadn't received them, and I had brilliant service phoning up and speaking to the lady in the Philippines, and yeah, it was basically my order months ago was in the outbasket. Just needed to click on the right things. So dinner at the back end of the day, take it into the naughty corner in the lounge, listen to the Radio 4 news, obviously serious these days, and Comrades Club. Yes, I think I forced myself to go down there, past the robot boat. Lovely moonlit night it was. Into the Comrades Club, forced myself to have the 0% Peroni. There's a few snaps there, but I did have a few games of pool, and of course a chat guys. Made my way back home, and yes, past the robot boat. Excuse me. And yes, they call it the Hunter's Moon, Super Hunter's Moon. So June tried her smartphone to take a few snaps, but it was a bit hazy. That was off the net. Yes, so that's the end of the summary. So now into the photos in the order I shot them. So starting with the robot boat, getting a bit of sunlight. When the closed circuit TV showed me when it stopped. 0505 GMT, which is 0605 BST, and the same idea for when it started again. So properly check voltages. Yes, there we go. So left hand side 4.94, right hand side 4.96, combined 4.67 volts, and it's working. Yes, Snoopy 11. And just a photo, you get the feel for it. You can see there's quite a lot of shade, but at certain times of the day you get full sunlight on it, but not for very long. Yeah, so another battery on charge. That was probably for the test rig, testing a servo to death. Yes, lots of junk in there. Yes. And what else have we got? Oh yes, updated blog 11 with some more information. June's watching the tennis, probably from China. I put in a commentary on for the day before, like I'm doing now. And yes, there's the election pamphlets from most of the parties, including the independent guy. And yes, always very interesting. And that's the chap who is standing down for health reasons. It's all stuff openly up there on the net. And yeah, a few more details about where you're allowed to vote. And so that's the guy that had visited. And so I thought, yeah, bought a few more pictures for the photo trail, including the closed circuit TV and who he was campaigning on behalf of. Yes, I obviously gave him a card and a few minutes indoors, showed him relevant stuff. And that guy, I think, was an army reservist. So I showed him stuff up on the eSams page, just so he knew it was there. In slower time, he can decide what to show. So these guys can always be, you never know what help they can do for good causes and all the rest. So yes, I did check on neighbours, and it turns out that these guys hadn't called on the neighbours, so it looks as though I'd been targeted for one reason or other. Oh yes, my letter to the DVLA, check-in visits, yeah, one from Niger in Nigeria, reminded me of an eSams trip back in 1981. Yeah, sorry about the cartoon, probably politically incorrect, but yes, that was the delivery of the letter. Check it, and yeah, track your item. Oh, that one, surprise, surprise, being returned to sender. That was the one destined for the lady who was head of the DVLA and is changing her job on the 25th of November. Director of Public Prosecutions, I think. And yes, paperwork there, updating. Oh, you're checking that you could print out that. And yes, it wasn't that difficult. Found the solution for that. That's the hard copy version. You certainly need reading glasses for it, but at least people say I can look at it online, which is easier and better in many ways. But if they've got it on paper, they can get a feel for the content just by looking at the pictures. Oh yes, my Prestaprint order. I went to the website and they were very impressive. They said, oh, perhaps you'd be interested in these products. The key thing is, I had ordered it, I remember, months ago. So perhaps I used the telephone. So I made a phone call and I had trouble with the line. But eventually, yeah, she rang on my phone and it all worked well. Yeah, so lots of other things going on. Yeah, TSO mentioning that the change of there. Right, and so that order has gone through now with the help of that lady in the Philippines. And so within a couple of days or so, I should have another stock of 2,000 visiting cards that should keep me going for another year or two. Yeah, voltages on the boat, including combined at 4.86 volts at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon British summertime. Yes, you can see partial sunlight there, because depending on the time of the day, as the sun moved round, the oak tree has a lot of effect. That was like another battery going on charge. And yeah, I probably decided to go down to the village to vote. So off down with the right paperwork for that into the polling station. And yes, so go through that process and went into the cafe, had a lovely lunch, and yes, that's across the road, flame kebab. Yes, I like those Turkish guys as well. All a matter of what you're having and when. So both very close. And looks as I'm back on my way home now. And yes, the robot boat. And yeah, so that's checking a few things. Obviously, sometimes it's that's where I'd been, into the Ascot Day Centre, which is where anybody living where we are, is have to vote. I must admit, I thought in conversation today with my pub grub mates that we had a choice of 3 places. No, those 3 places are voting places, but it seems if you live in a particular place, there's 1 place you're allowed to vote. And so they were right on that front. Yes, a few snaps outside, checking voltages. 4.89 left hand side, 4.88 right hand side, 4.65 combined voltage, and it's still running. And you can see there the shade. You've got a bit of sunlight on the other side of the road, but the oh yeah, I was looking on Street View. It still shows where that cafe is now as being the Undertaker's, so that's changed. You can't expect Street View to be updated that often. So that's the guy who'd stood down for health reasons. And here's a guy coming campaigning for one of the candidates. So yes, I thought that stuff was relevant to him, just to give him a quick flash of it so he knew what was on the website. I think he does a bit of work for charity eyes, and then he left. And there's, I just scribbled his name down on that. And yeah, that's one of the candidates. And updating the blog 11 with information. Looks like I'm listening to the Radio 4 news because I've got a serious look on my face. Getting a bit later in the day now. Yes, looks like some peanuts need to go out. So put those out in various places, including at the front. Yes, and the feeder and the roof feeder, put them up there. See that well on the closed circuit TV. Oh, hard work that was, wasn't it? So then come into the kitchen. Looks like June's rustling up something to eat. And yes, so there's my food. So take it into the naughty corner in the lounge where I can eat my food, relax and look at the closed circuit TV, listen to the Radio 4 news, and then I can check when the boat stopped working. 1753 or 43 was it, GMT. And what else am I looking at? Oh yeah, that's where I think I'll take a walk, armed with the weighted cue ball, which I didn't use that evening. And so take a walk past the boat with its light on. There's the full moon. Didn't come out very well at all on my camera. That's that so-called harvest moon in England, but I think the Americans call it a hunter's moon, probably because of the latitudes. You're hunting rather than other things. Right, so in the Comrades Club, a few snaps there, not many of course, and that's, yeah, my smartphone shows where I am. And I looked up that, I thought, oh, just check what it said. I'd heard talking about it, and yeah, a few games of pool, my 0% Peroni. I walked back, lovely evening that was, moonlit night, moonlit night, and into the house. And it looks like news on the television. June came out and took some pictures of the moon with her smartphone, but yeah, it was a bit hazy, didn't come out well. And looking at my tracker, so I could see, yes, anybody could see, oh, there's Robin, he's at the Comrades Club at the moment, and they could see when I leave if they're interested. Until I got back home. Number 22, Armitage Court, just here. And put the tracker on charge. Time for bed, so that's the end of the photo trail. Friday the 18th of October 2024. Starting with a summary of the photo shot that day. Starting with Toadie on guard duty on their front lawn, and Bentley sort of on guard duty in the washing basket in the utility room, keeping an eye on the back door. So yes, I made a call, Jim knew about it, to Magnolia House to try and arrange a blood test for her. And yeah, and she made that trip. And it was also pub lunch with grumpy old men at the Red Lion at Lightwater. So we enjoyed that, and the coffee afterwards. And yes, there's Toadie at the back, and there's the robot boat at the front. And there's me bringing it in. to put it on charge, and that's what I used. Just standard radio control charger, left it charging overnight. Yes, so June rustled up food, which I took into the naughty corner in the lounge, and then I thought, yes, force myself to go down to the Comrades Club. Took a brolly in case I needed it, but I didn't. And yes, didn't take any photos to speak of there. Back home, and yes, June's watching the news, I think, and other stuff. Time for bed. So that's the end of the summary. So now in the photos in the order shot, yeah, starting with processing of the video for the day before, like I'm doing for the Friday. And yes, Magnolia House, checked their number, gave them a ring, spoke to a lovely Kenzie, I think it was. And yes, so everything seems to be going alright. Yes, processing of the video for the day before. And yes, there's Toadie. He's now moved into the games room, which is very cluttered with the robot boat stuff being worked on. That will get tidied up in due course. Yeah, there's like a few snaps in the garden. Pond was low. And yeah, we'll get round to doing that in the next month or two perhaps, or 3 or 4. And yeah, just took a snap down the garden. Yes, all overgrown. Easy work, and much more important stuff to do ahead of that. Yes, it's now 20 past 11 British Standard Time, and the sundials were showing the correct time, all labelled. And yes, there's the gunner. There's looking up the garden, very overgrown. Used the opportunity to take a few snaps, including in the so-called laboratory. Yes, very untidy. And then round into the workshop area. No real change has been made there for days, but we're going in the right direction of creating the space to put things. And as I always say, people often tell me where to stick things. It's a question of sticking things in the right place. Yeah, looking up the garden again. Yeah, it's all overgrown. And that's the servo test rig, and you would have seen that in the introduction. And yes, charging up things. That tells me when the boat system stopped on the closed circuit TV and when it started. Those times are in Greenwich Mean Time, so you have to add an hour for British Standard Time. Yeah, so out to the boat, checking voltages, which is the routine I've been doing for ages. That's on static test. And the time, and yes, it's still running. And yes, you see mixed sunlight. I've said it many times with that oak tree. That's the best spot I could find for the moment. But it does get the odd, depend on if the sun's out, then it should get at least an hour of sunshine. Anyhow, there's Bentley relaxing in his washing basket. I say his washing basket, it's probably his more than June's. And yes, processing a video for the day before. And so that's, yes, that was very easy to get confused. I think that was June going off for her appointment, which I'd fixed to be in 10 past 12, I think, and the tracker showed, anybody could see it, that yes, she got there with 10 minutes to spare before the appointment. Yeah, shouldn't I be doing the hoovering like I always do? What do you believe? That's Samantha, good at learning how to do housework. And yes, looks like those are the photos of, yeah, June at the place there by the look of it, and what it gives the detail, including the address. So that seems to be working well, and it's also good that she got there. So looking at the closed circuit TV, the time is 5 past 12, and Stuart arrives as chauffeur which I had been doing for years, but in the last year or two it's been Stuart and Richard. Have a little chat outside first, and then we're back off. And yes, so Stuart driving and past a few landmarks on the way, including the windmill and that school and a tractor cutting the hedgerow. Good to see. Yeah, we're a lovely patch of country here. To the Red Lion at Lightwater, as I often say, my favourite pub. There's several good pubs around. Yeah, so that's just a record of what we ate. Yes. And outside, that notice: please do not climb on railings. That's not children, that is pensioners. And yes, record of what they did, and the arrangement of passing £10 to Richard, who is very concerned about pricing, and I believe he's going to put it into a charity, but whatever, doesn't matter. On their way back, past a few other places, including the Bee. Oh yes, popped in to get some fuel, and I got the chance to get some Red Bull, and also chatted to the guy from Sri Lanka, and mentioned one of my favourite authors who lived there, Arthur C. Clarke, I think, who wrote 2001: A Space Odyssey and other things. Right, round to coffee at Stuart's, but I pop home for a few things that might be urgent. Sometimes you get emails come in, and well, for example, I put the Red Bull in the right place. And yes, MOTs were arranged for both June and Samantha. June had already got there, okay, the tracker showed that she'd got to the place at Bracknell, 888 I think they're called, and yeah, that shows our visit to the Red Lion at Lightwater, and the filling station. Bit of scatter there, but does the job. And what next? Oh yes, that's June still at the MOT. I'll give her a ring to check, and oh yes, no problems, but she hadn't at that time left, so the car had got through its MOT, so I can afford to go off for coffee and round to Stuart's, and yes, and then lovely time that was, and then back, and there's Toadie on guard duty, keeping an eye on the boat for me. So into the house, yes. June's looks as though she's on her way back, and there's a blank screen, not sure what happened there. And that was she decided to pop into Tesco's at Martin Heron on the way home to do the big shop, and looks like she's arriving home. Yes, just got back, so I better give her a hand. All that heavy work of carrying those bags of shopping, it really wears you out. So I managed to carry those in, and yeah, Samantha came down and helped. And Toadie. No, Toadie's not very good at carrying shopping bags in. Check the voltages on the boat again. Left 3.71, 3.76, 3.46. So the battery's gone down, or it's very low. I think it was running still, but obviously it would be stopping soon. Made a note at the time. And yeah, a few snaps around, and there's Toadie deciding to have lunch, I suppose that is. Oh, that's June had bought that as an impulse buy for Halloween and put it on the windowsill. A black cat, yeah, more junk, as if we didn't have enough of that. Yeah, there's on recording the commentary for the Thursday's video, as I am for Fridays. And yes, notes of when the boat stopped and started. stopped then at that time, 15:49 GMT. Check voltages, yeah, it's very low as you can see, 2.36 left, 2.36 right, and 2.14 combined. Coming up to 6 o'clock, listen to the Radio 4 news. It's obviously serious stuff. And looks like I've switched it off there, and that is to stop it blowing over in the wind. Bring the boat in. Yes, on closed circuit TV, smile for the cameras, and put it in the games room. And yeah, so that's the voltage. Because it's switched off, the voltages climb up a little bit. So that's coming up to 6:15 British Standard Time. So then I use those leads with an ordinary radio control charger to put it on charge, whatever that was. And of course, when it's charging, the voltages appear higher, but it's going to take, in fact, I left it running all overnight. And I can say now, since this is the next day, that yeah, did the job very well. And yes, I updated the blog, and yes, we got the result. Apparently Sally was the person who'd won the local by-election. And yes, from Antwerp, where one of my friends is, who's interested in the robot boats, or near there. Yes, there's Toady. He was a bit annoyed because that was on the windowsill, so I put it somewhere else. Yes, June's rustled up food. So I'm taking that through into the naughty corner in the lounge and looking at where I might go. Sunninghill Comrades Club, armed with that lead-weighted cue ball. Yes, the tracker. Anybody can see where I am. June's watching tennis. That's a surprise. Better take the brolly just in case I need it. And it was a slight spittering of rain, but nothing really heavy when I had to come back, so that was okay. Walked down to the village, into the Comrades Club. Only took one photo, yes, decided not to take photos in there unnecessarily. And back in. There's enough photos in the Comrades Club, done or encouraged by others on earlier photo trials. Yes, so that's where I was. You could see, yes, Robin spent time in the Comrades Club, and then got back home to 22 Armitage Court, just here. Yeah, news on the television, time for bed, so that's the end of the photo trail. I warned you they will be long photo trails. So back into the house, we're going to drop into material that was shot some time ago, which is on two subjects: global warming and the prophetic words of James Lovelock, and my experiences with the DVLA, the Driver Vehicle Licensing Agency. I shouldn't joke about it, but looks like the women are about to leave. Yes, they are. So, yeah, you've got your little tracker with you, have you, dear?
Yeah.
Somewhere there?
Yes.
Right, okay. And they're about to go off. So, again, you respond to whatever's happening at the time. Some of my friends have gotten interested in filmmaking. I'm completely rubbish at it, as I am with photography. Yes, that's a little patch, which again is in the category of work to be done. You see all that's falling apart here. Quite a lot of property we've got here. It's just a case of using it properly. Right, so they're off.
Yes.
So you're going in Samantha's car then, are you? Yeah, looks like it.
Yeah.
Yes. Have you seen the pussycat?
No.
No, okay. Right, not to worry. He came in, went out again. He's not in his fort. Yeah. Okay, not to worry. Okay. So where were we? Oh, good, they left the door open. Right, we're now going to run into that material that was shot whenever it was, 18 months ago, which was on those two subjects. global warming and my experiences with the Driver Vehicle Licensing Agency. And I think that material, yes, I always point that out, sorry, that's the expensive Renoir that we've got, and that's the little pocket camera is what I've been using. So I think that earlier material started at about here. Now what I put on the screen, because global warming is in itself, it's something that's been on my grumpy page for years. The remarkable James Lovelock, who passed away on the 26th of July, his 103rd birthday. I'll read out what this says here. This has been on the grumpy page for years, not long after the publication of his book, Revenge of Gaia. We can't stop global warming, but we may delay it by a few decades to give us time to prepare for its effects. Vast areas of the world, including as close as continental Europe, becoming arid desert, shrinking of habitable areas of the planet to much smaller parts of the planet, closer to the poles. The Earth will then only be able to support a small fraction of its present population, and there will be a need for massive migration. Places like the UK will remain temperate a little longer, so be an attractive destination. We need all world governments to cooperate to prepare for this inevitability. Also to agree things like reduce use of fossil fuels, to give us a few more decades to prepare. And then it goes on. The above is not a quote, but how I remember what James Lovelock said in his book, The Revenge of Gaia, etc. That's been unchanged on my site for years. And right, well, the other thing I should mention, yes, retired, happy and spending that kid's inheritance, is for some time now I've not been able to drive due to, well, several mistakes at the DVLA. And what I will say is that I have new evidence of what happened inside the DVLA, which I won't publish yet, because I'm still waiting for the reply to the letter which was delivered by recorded delivery to the head of the DVLA and also other people. So I'll put in at the end of this long video the video that's gone up, me talking about the DVLA, and basically in summary it says I don't want anybody to get into trouble, and that is definitely the case, and resigning is too easy. Problems need to be fixed. But quite honestly, that is a minor thing compared with all the other things that are going on in the world, not least wars, and of course what's in the background and very important is global warming. So let's run into that. Back in 2012.
Seen the launch of a transatlantic sailing attempt this morning in a model boat. Retired NATO scientist Robin Lovelock launched his Snoop Loop from Barton-on-Sea towards the Bahamas. It's already been tested over 5,000 miles on a lake in Berkshire. The model will be steered and tracked through a satellite system and by Snoopy, of course, and it should make the crossing in 6 months, if it survives, that is.
The most important thing of the lot, of course, is Snoopy the Viking, the skipper. I don't think he'd make it otherwise. We've also got another bit and piece here. This is a GPS logger that logs the position every 15 minutes. That was back in 2012. The guy that put this material together, including live broadcast and what went up on the BBC website, is Ben Moore.
I just worry for Snoopy. Sport now and Hampshire.
Right, on to the next topic. Right. Now, I'm going to do this all in one take. All unrehearsed and unscripted, so sorry about that. What I'd like to happen, if anybody picks up on the DVLA story, is, as I say, nobody getting into trouble, and that's a genuine request, but when they find flaws in procedures where they don't cover certain things, be good if those are fixed. What I think would be useful for anybody looking at the DVLA and perhaps helping them is, first of all, their organisation chart showing the structure. Yes, it's well known who the head of the DVLA, remarkable woman, looking at her CV, and relevant to this story is the head of the health part. But it would be very useful to see, even if names aren't attached, obviously the names can be attached where they're public already, is how many people in each branch, how many people are reporting to how many. So a simple tree would help. I suggest that first of all. Then, perhaps even more important, is how many people working for the DVLA, even if you don't identify the individuals, are salaried by the DVLA excuse me, directly, as opposed to contracted through an agency or a business. That is very important, and we've seen what's been happening in places like the NHS for years. So that comes into the equation in terms of whether money is well spent, and of course the DVLA collects a lot of money, and there are probably other things as well, but as a starting point, I'd hope anybody that responds to this, I can't afford to get overloaded, we've got other things to do, many other things to do, and we'll be taking a holiday, that'll be public, yes. I'm tracked everywhere by different things, and in fact, if anybody's paranoid about it, anybody who's tracking somebody or looking at somebody's probably seen already. But at the end of the day, there's me whittering on, which is one of my main weaknesses since I was a little child. That's why if you put things up, clearly be careful what you put up, and often it can do some good. I'm now in the kitchen, and June's rustling up some food in the microwave for Samantha, and here's Samantha, and of course there's tennis on the television, just for a change. So, oh yes, point out, holidays in we're going off to Sicily again soon, and into the hall. Yes, nice expensive paintings here. Yep, expensive little pocket camera, not expensive. And through into the lounge and out to wrap up this video by saying, look after yourselves, stay safe, and enjoy what days we have. Yes, it's now middle of March 2024, and the pond's changed quite a bit. I'll have to change the copyright statement at the end, but the message is the same. Look after yourselves, stay safe, and enjoy life while we can. Oh yeah, my hair's grown a bit since then.